if you don't want the conversation to be able to go any further than where it is right now, how do you answer that? So you'd think that I have this overly rehearsed, polished elevator pitch. The reality of it is I don't, but I do speak on purpose. So it depends on what I want to achieve from that interaction. I spent almost half my year or half the days of last year on aeroplanes. I met a lot of strangers through that experience. You get a lot of people ask you the "so what do you do" question. You find yourself in a situation where you've got a lot of opportunities to give answers. More often than not in those scenarios is I want to give a short answer because I don't want to have a long conversation. And that's a very true fact that I think many of us need to be aware of, is the skill to say, well, actually, if you don't want the conversation to be able to go any further than where it is right now, how do you answer that? So sometimes if you're asking to say, what do you do? I own a small publishing company. Done.
Just right? Like that.
Just done. Or I own a consulting firm. Done. Right? Game over. Boom. And that's done on purpose. But if I'm looking to be able to say, how do I have a constructive conversation with somebody that leads to somewhere new from an elevator pitch? What I think is the most important lesson for everybody is to know that a story will always sell, whereas a fact will only tell. So I gave the example of a second ago, there's a fact, right? I could answer the "so what do you do" question with a dozen facts that could kill a conversation dead. I could also answer that with a dozen stories that will allow us to be able to move into some form of future next conversation. What I generally look to be able to do in answering that question is to build a story around a four-part framework. Four-part framework I would use would be that I would start with some away motivated scene setter. It's probably going to start with words like, well, you know how most people, or will you know how some people, or will you know how many people? Let's just play this out in my world. Well, you know how many people find themselves needing to sell something, but they don't see themselves as salespeople. Right? There's a scene setter. It's away motivated. There's some form of just subtle nuance of pain in it. Well, you know how many people they need to sell something, but they don't see themselves as salespeople. What I then do is I build off that with a "which means that." Which means that they lack confidence, they find themselves not asking for the things that they want in life, and quite often they don't achieve the success that you and I both know they're capable of. So it's, well, you know how most people, some people, many people, which means that. Third part of this framework is what I do is I don't explain what I do, I explain how I help people. Well, in part of the work that I do, what I do is I help those people to be able to overcome some of those situations where they lack confidence by providing them skills to be more persuasive in conversation and release more of their true self when speaking to others. Which means that they do go on to be able to ask for more of the things that they want in life, which means that they do go on to be able to have more confidence in conversation, which means that they do go on to be able to achieve more success. And that would be a conceptual way of me setting up a quick conversation where people really say back in, well, tell me some more about that.
It's really fascinating because I asked this question. I've had some pretty interesting people come on, and just like that, we're already getting some juice.